Yeah, we don't have much time, but yeah.
If I were to make it linearly, tell me if I'm incorrect. Person A kills person B. Or no, person A intends to kill in the way that reflects the nature of God. Right?
Okay.
God confirms in step B, God confirms whether it's in the nature of God or not. Correct?
Yep.
That step B is the one that determines whether it was a good intention or not.
To catch your voice. To be fair, just to catch his voice. Just follow that, just so. No, just follow that.
Slowly but surely.
I don't want you holding it. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Say that again. Sorry.
In other words, someone kills.
Someone wants to kill in the way of God, right? In the way that reflects the nature of God.
Okay.
Right?
Really devoid of any meaning.
They intend to do that, right?
Okay.
Step B is the determining factor whether it is truly in the way that reflects the nature of God or not.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Is step B the one that determines whether it's a moral action or not?
Your definition is so
Still trying to figure out. So, hang on. What's your defining point?
So I'm starting to say step one,
Yeah.
the intention of doing the action
Yeah.
indicates whether it was a moral action or immoral action. Meaning, if you intend to kill an innocent, it's murder.
But we remember.
We would. Okay. So
you said-
I see what you're saying. The law takes precedent.
The law takes precedence
The law takes
over
precedent.
the moral law.
No. The moral law is the precedent.
I know, but when you say the law, I get confused. So I'm
Because you're
defining
talking about intentions.
I'm defining it for me when I say moral law. But what you mean by
Right,
when you say the
right.
law, you mean the
We're gonna
moral
have a shared
law of God.
definition.
Yeah.
So
we're on the same
when
page.
we
I'll
talk
whisper
about
it to myself just so I understand. Yeah.
So when it comes to the moral law,
Yeah.
right? The moral law is the one that is the ultimate,
Yeah.
right? The intention also can break the moral law,
So it has to align, right?
right? Because
Well, I'm
if
agreeing
my
with you.
brother
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
intends to murder you,
Yeah.
he's broken the moral law
Yeah.
already.
Even if he believes.
If he does it,
Yeah.
he's also broken the moral law.
If he doesn't, sorry.
If he does it,
If I do it, do the act.
so he can think of it, and then he can do it, both is sin,
Yes.
right?
Jesus says if you have hate in your heart, you've already committed murder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. In the spirit of it, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So this is our thing: is that you
But it was
said,
just that statement about the nature, the reflecting of the nature.
yeah,
of
but
God.
you're talking about
But
the
way
moral
you're saying
basis
this now
of
is
why
quite,
we believe
yeah.
what we believe.
Yeah.
So our moral basis for why we
I
would
didn't want to
think-
go there, to be fair.
Oh, I thought that's what you were.
No, it was just about because you denied actions. The moral nature of an action be determined by its intention of
Right,
the user,
and its
but you deny the consequence. I was trying to see where it came
where
from.
is it? But the intention is it has
The
a
intention
source.
has to align to something, right?
It has a source.
I get what you're saying now.
That's where we were connecting
but,
it to.
Okay, so
Right.
the consequence doesn't have to align. It's the intention that has to align, right? The intention of the user has to align to the will
The
of God.
action, the
moral
any
aspect
and
of
all
God.
actions and thoughts can be actions, and thoughts are often actions, right?
I don't consider thought an action.
But that's the problem.
Yeah.
This is what we did the Billy Graham principle, for example, which is you can't control the first thought, but you can control the second, third, and fourth.
I understand, but I have no. The term action, I believe it requires an act.
I'll ask
But-
you a question. So let's say you look at a woman lustfully,
Yeah.
right? She's dressed very promiscuously.
Some
Nothing
address,
you can
yeah,
do. You go home and you start ruminating and thinking about what you would do to her. Is that a sin?
Yes, but I don't think thought is an act. That's intent.
Yeah, but intent is an action.
Yeah.
I don't consider it an action.
If I intend to do something, if I premeditate a murder,
Yeah.
you can be charged for that, for conspiracy to murder.
You know, of course, yeah.
Right.
But that's again, it's semantical. I understand what no, for me it is.
not semantical.
No,
You just
for
agree
me,
that
no.
that
I
would be-
agree,
you
I
agree
agree
with
with you. It's just the terms I don't agree. I don't. It's just I don't agree with the terms. That was it. But I agree with the premise of what you're saying. I don't consider thought an action. Like linguistically, I don't even consider it an
Okay,
action.
can I ask this? Did you go to university or did you?
No. But I studied linguistics on the side.
studied,
Yeah, I've
right?
been doing it for about 6 years.
Was it an action to apply thought to study?
Was it an action to apply
Was it
thought
an action
to think about studying?
to study, and you obviously thinking is a part of studying? Was it an action to think on the things
No.
you're studying?
The thinking was the intention. The studying was the action.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so you're saying the action is only exists outside of you. It doesn't exist internally.
Action is the application of something. Yes, you have to act. You have to apply something. You have
But
to do
can you
something.
say to yourself,
The thinking
okay,
part wasn't
I'm
an
going
action
to
to me. No,
revise?
it was intending to do something.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that intention is also yours.
I know, but what I'm saying is I'm agreeing with you guys. It's just linguistically was the issue.
No, that's not linguistic though. Well, that's my issue.
Because
is
we're
that
saying
I
that
don't
you're
determine an
accountable
action.
you can be accountable for your
Yeah,
intention.
you see, I'm saying you could be accountable for your intentions, but the only difference we're here is saying you're saying intentions are an action. I'm saying it isn't. That's the only. It's a
But
linguistic.
hold on,
barrier.
I got it.
It's a linguistic barrier.
You just said that Allah will convict someone, like as in that He will judge them based on their intention.
Yes, but remember, no,
But how can He judge them on something that was not an action that did not violate?
because actions are predetermined.
So Allah,
Actions are events.
but Allah judges someone based on what they're not responsible of.
Sorry, he shouted.
Allah judges someone and convicts someone based on what they could not be responsible for, i.e. fraud.
No, because you have free will in your intentions.
Yeah, but that's an action.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah, from that perspective, yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Cool.
I get what you're saying.
So that's what we would say about, all these exceptions in that aspect. Like the intention is key, but it's the law that's ultimately broken and the law that's in judge.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah.
Right.
So that's what you meant when you said you deny consequentialism, but you also deny the idea that intentions are the
because
moral
our
aspect.
basis is not within the action itself. There is no absolute standard within the act, either moral or not moral.
You have to take the intention and you have to apply
There's
it
a
to the moral
source.
standard. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Okay,
It's got to do with God's
Yeah,
nature.
yeah.
That's where the moral order.
When I asked it was implied for me, but I should have clarified it. That was my
Okay.
mistake. It was implied for me. But that was it, yeah. I don't think we have any disagreements, honestly. It's just
well,
that I
do you
believe
still hold to the thing about when it comes to
free will is determined in the intention? Because that was the initial
in terms of the
discussion.
Sharia courts, right, and how they judge someone, do you still maintain that it is the Muslims are judged under the law, but Allah judges them by intention?
What do you mean by the law? The Sharia?
So the Sharia law, as applied to, as given as an institution to Muslims, to the world, as a way in which to judge the righteous and the unrighteous, as a way in which to judge the righteous and the unrighteous.
Sorry, I'm going to distract you. Say the Muslim law.
So do you still agree, because we talked about this earlier, that Sharia law is given by Allah as an institution of Allah to judge the righteous and the unrighteous, right?
Righteous and unrighteous.
Yeah, because law convicts. It
Why
either,
would they judge the righteous?
well, because if someone is put before the courts and someone is accused of a crime,
The law will see
the law, it will see by the interpretation of law, someone is either a criminal or a righteous person. Breaking or abiding, right? Do you still agree with that? Because you told me, do you still agree with that premise? Because you told me that the real sin is not the law breaking, but the intention of.
I'll clarify the statement based on the correction my friend gave me. The real sin is determined by the intention of the individual, whether it applies to God's law or not by the practical application of it.
But okay, so that's my issue. So what you're telling me again is Allah has given an institution to the Ummah, the Islamic community, to judge people.
With a margin of error in it.
There's a margin of error,
course,
but
yeah.
Allah has instituted it from the beginning, and He's handicapped your legal system.
What do you mean by the beginning?
As in,
Remember when I
Sharia
told you that
law
Sharia can be
is an
abrogated?
institution.
Do you remember when I said Sharia can be abrogated? or
No, I
corrected?
understand that. So are we saying that the Sharia law you have today is temporary?
Temporary, or this ummah is living, yeah, which means by the time it's gone.
So God has given you a temporary law, which is still handicapped, because what can happen is that you are judged not by your intention, but by the law you broke. But you said the ultimate metric is the intention, what was on your heart, basically.
Yeah, whether you're considered to break the law or not. It's whether you could. So in terms of Sharia, as far as I understood, again, I could be wrong. I'm not a scholar of the jurisprudence. When you judge someone according to Sharia, you're judging them based upon the law that's broken.
Yeah.
You're not judging them whether they're sinful or not.
Yeah.
God judges people when they're sinful or not.
So
That's what I'm
what does
saying.
it mean to break the law?
So how can you be criminalized? Because you told me as well that Allah's moral law is infused into Sharia law.
It is. Remember, there's components in it. But
Right.
the reason why there's these margin of errors, right? These exceptional things, right? They allow a room where there's an individual who's not sinful,
Yeah.
but appears like it due to conspiracies or due to lack of
Yeah.
thingies, the mitigating standards we spoke about, that we spoke about before, right? These margin of errors allow it because human beings are not infallible.
But that's my issue. It's like,
So
why
God-
did Allah give you a
God
handicapped
can't,
system?
but even with you guys, you can't. No human being can ever
We
be
have
given.
a different way of measuring that. What I'm
How
asking
would you?
is,
So if I give you a case like that, how would you determine whether
but
someone?
I want to come back to this point
Oh,
about the.
sorry, yes, because the action is the one that turns. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So the systemic nature of Sharia law is dependent upon the highest metric. In Sharia law, it's the breaking of the law. If you break the law, because again, you said mankind, and we all agree, mankind does not know
Yeah, they're fallible.
intentions of everyone, all places, all times. You can establish it, but right. So the highest metric is, did he or did he not commit that crime?
Essentially, yes.
Break that law.
Yeah. You have to
You
take
said-
you have to take his
but you
intention
said
into account.
true
Yeah.
justice
Or applied whether the person's intention.
under Allah is the intention of the heart, basically,
The intentions of the what?
of the heart or the mind.
Yeah, the intention
Right?
of the person. Yeah.
So why has Allah given the Islamic community a flawed system, a handicapped system,
the system-
to dispense justice? Because the
I think
legal
I missed
system
that,
is
yeah,
a system
I
of
understand what you're
justice.
saying, but I don't
right?
think I carried it wrong. The system is not the one that's flawed. The application can be flawed.
So the law is not a flawed system.
No, because the law gives you these accounts, right?
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Yeah,
These
yeah.
are the laws given, right? If you apply it incorrectly, that's on you.
Understood.
As-
And that happens
So
in the Western
I'm only
systems.
talking about application of it, right?
But the problem is,
the law, no, boss. The law indicates
Yeah.
the law already implies intention in it. So, for example,
yeah,
if someone were to steal and it's proven that the person is poor, you don't cut off his hand according to our law,
yeah,
right?
like premeditated murder and all type of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's already implied. So I don't understand the issue.
The issue is that regardless of all those points you made, and we understand those points, and we would kind of somewhat agree with those points, the issue is that the highest metric Allah has given you is a flawed metric.
No,
Because
we
the
can,
true sin, the true
is to judge by the
crime
intentions, right?
is the intention.
Well, we can judge by the intentions.
But you just said that.
I remember prior I was judging
Right.
this correct, but we can in a sense where I just give the example of the person with the person stealing for poverty. That's judging the intentions of the person. The pre-existing conditions show the intention of stealing, right?
But
If
you
we
would
see-
acknowledge that there's an injustice, and although we understand the person who
Where's the
stole,
injustice?
the injustice on the bread maker.
Yeah, of course, return the thing, but don't punish the person. They're not sinful.
This is the problem.
We don't consider them sinful stealing.
Go through this example again, sorry.
So if a kid steals because he's poor, right? Or not a kid, because I know. An adult. Let's say an adult steals
Yeah,
for their
steals an
family,
apple,
right?
whatever,
Because
yeah.
they're poor.
Yeah.
If they go to the court and say this person stole from me, you obviously give the stuff back to the person who stole
What
it
if
from
it's
because
already
there was
consumed?
injustice.
What if it's already consumed?
And then you find a, what's the word? There's conditions for that, but I'll mention it in a second. But in terms of whether they're sinful or not, right? You recompense the owner of the goods,
Yeah.
right? But at the same time, the individual, in terms of moral perspective, is not sinful.
No, the moral has already been that they've broken the law.
Yeah.
The fact
They've done an act where they've broken the law.
And
They-
they intended to steal.
Yeah.
they intended to steal because they're pre-existing conditions. But then, so stealing itself, right?
As in the pre-existing.
Of being
Right.
destitute, they had no other way of feeding their family, right?
Yeah, but because you're in a bad situation doesn't give you right to break the law, right?
No, but because they did so, you take into account that. That's a really good point. Whether they're considered sinful or not, I'm actually not too sure about that now as well.
Okay.
But
You're not sure if they're considered sinful
sinful or not?
In
because
his worldview.
It might be not yours.
Yeah, I know in your world. So that means
Because
stealing
I was
is not
thinking,
always a precedent then.
no. The intention behind stealing is
The intention
because the
behind
intention stealing is because if you were to give a case like, for example, if a kid stole, they're not sinful. They're a kid. They don't know any better.
Okay, shall I give you? Let me give you a bit of an example there, because in terms of intention, because this is where you will say this is rubbish.
I wouldn't say no. Oh,
No, as in,
God.
no, you say this example. Hitler's intention was the good of the German people, right? His act was to waste everybody
In
else.
this example,
Yeah. No, think
that's not
about
a
it.
good example.
That's a good.
Oh,
I mean, that's his
I
intention.
tell you-
That's
That's
his
wrong.
intention.
My words are wrong. That's not a good intention because remember we all agree that intentions have to align
No,
to
he's
what
so- yeah.
God's objective law is.
So then, if
So
God's,
wiping all of the people to help your people is not.
so then if
It doesn't conform.
if you're now talking about God's objective law and we take it back to the person who's stealing, what's God's objective law about that?
Stealing.
Yeah.
So
Well, he's saying that you broke the law via intention, not via action.
Yeah, but you've still stolen.
That's what we're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
So
What's God's objective law about that situation?
Hitler's example, right? The Hitler example. Sorry, miss. If you're recording them, it's fine, but I don't want if in Hitler's example, let's say he took step one, he had a good intention. His actions confirmed his intentions were incorrect, right? Because obviously he decided it's worth the means justify his ends. No, the ends justify his means, right? Bad example. No, not bad example. Sorry, it doesn't apply, right? Because he's denied. I'm losing my words, but you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. I know it's an
In the
extreme
stealing
example,
example,
but I
in the
think
stealing
it shows.
example-
So, for example, let me ask you the question. When it
It's-
comes to like a Hitler or a Stalin or whatever, right? The intention, right? Can the intention be a bad intention no matter what the person thought about it? So, like, if the person really thought this is a really, really good intention, but actually, according to Allah or God, it's bad intention. How is that person convicted?
You'd have to have pre-existing knowledge of where it was good.
Well, Hitler, we know, probably had pre-existing knowledge.
That's the thing.
Okay, so this only applies to Muslims.
Well, no, because the people who believe in God, essentially, yeah. Because you believe in this
Yeah,
concept of
but
objective law.
Christians have a very different moral framework.
Okay,
to
I guess
Muslims.
in Muslims, in this case, yeah.
So this only applies to
like,
Muslims.
I mean,
That's
like,
what I'm
if there's this common law that we understand, yeah.
Yeah.
Like in a sense, if you
Common law.
If you, no, like in the sense of harming people. There's a common law secular kind of common law that we all understand. We know where it comes from God, but what I mean is non-Muslims, everyone, they understand there's good and bad things. In a sense where if you, as a non-Muslim, right? Intended to do something good, but you did
Right.
something bad. From my perspective, I can look at you and say, yeah, you did it. You did something bad. Even your intention wasn't good.
But did they
However, you're not judged by the same metric I'm judged by.
No, I understand
Yeah,
that.
so
we're talking about the
you
intention
didn't
of
take the
itself.
covenant with like I
They
did.
said that's the point.
That's all,
did they
yeah,
sin?
because I feel because
It's hard. I can't. If I see someone who's a non-Muslim doing adultery, I can't say they're sinning. They don't know they're doing it. They don't know they're doing it. They don't know what's good or bad, from our perspective. So if they grew up in a world where so for example, adultery for us would be, I think the same for you is premarital sex,
yeah.
right? So premarital sex is widespread, and
is.
they did premarital sex, right?
Yeah.
They don't know any better. So it's not the same.
No, I think
See, can I jump on that?
Yeah.
So what we're saying is the defining measure between what is sin and what is not sin, according to Allah.
Yeah.
According to Allah.
Yeah. What,
Okay, cool.
What you're saying or what we're saying?
Because we were talking about the Sharia courts before and man's legal system. There's Allah's legal system, but it's man applied.
Yeah,
right?
that's what Sharia.
And then we have Allah's law, which is like you're talking about the intention, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm asking, like, when it comes to the ones who are engaging in promiscuity and
That are non-Muslim. They
all
haven't
that type
got-
of stuff,
Yeah, no, they haven't received any message.
immoral,
They're not
yeah,
sinning.
yeah.
No, from our perspective, they're not culpable for that. No, because you're only considered judged in a sense if you've received the message from God and you accept it.
Would you say that
Of
someone?
course, they'll be judged from a different perspective. That's a whole different discussion.
Would you say that someone who comes from a culture of like wife beating or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, some random way, far away tribe, whatever, right? They come to this country, they beat a woman,
Yeah.
right? And then they say, I had no knowledge of this. I was ignorant of this. Are they given an exemption from the law?
No, that's a good example. No, they're immoral. That's
They're
an immoral
immoral,
action.
but you just said they're not under the moral law because they did not know any
'cause
better.
The way I understood sin was different. Sin is a violation from what God has ordained in law for us. So, for example, if I don't pray, I'm sinning. That's the way I took it, right? So, but if we talk about moral and immoral, no, these actions I consider immoral. They're doing immoral actions, but they haven't been, they haven't accepted the following the law of God from our
But my
perspective,
point
right?
is that
So yes,
regardless of the
immoral. I
knowledge,
can't say sin. I can say immoral.
immoral is sin.
I know, but in our perspective, like
To
I gave
do-
the
to
prayer
do-
example. I
To
gave the
do
prayer
what is,
example,
but
right?
hold on, to do what is not right is
God.
wrong.
Yeah.
Not to do, they're wrong. Yeah.
Well,
However,
immoral
but
means
no.
sin.
But remember, if we don't pray, we're considered sinful, right?
But
Yeah,
when
that means because you received an instruction from God
Yes, of course.
to pray,
Yeah.
and if you don't do it, that's disobedience.
Yeah, but then if another,
so
they're not
there's-
Muslim,
and therefore,
so if she doesn't pray, she's not sinful.
would
Because
you be
it's not-
judged for that?
No, she wouldn't. Not in our perspective, no. Unless she's received the message of Islam and she denied it
I
knowingly
think prayer
that
is
it's
a bit of
clear.
a thing. What about
That's
if,
the reason why I use the word sin. If I say immoral, then
what
yeah.
about if she harms someone on the street?
Well, she's immoral, yeah. There's an immoral action. It's a wrong action.
Regardless of the moral law,
Yeah.
of the Islamic moral law, right? She had no knowledge before. She came from an Amazonian tribe where that's normal, whatever.
Yeah.
Is she convicted under Allah's law? Regardless of
For harming
knowledge.
someone.
Regardless of knowledge.
For harming someone. Of course, yeah.
This is my point.
Oh, okay. No, from that perspective, yes, it's sin.
Right.
Yeah, from that perspective, yes. I
So
get it.
regardless if
Sorry.
you knew the law or not,
Yeah.
you can still be convicted.
There's a
and accountable.
the
Ignorance of the law,
fitrah-based
there's a
yeah,
common
I get what
saying
you're
in
that
Western
common
society.
law that I was mentioning before. The idea you don't harm
there's
a
a
person.
common, there's a common saying in Western society, ignorance of the law is not exemption from the law, or something like that, right?
It depends on. Yeah, from our perspective, it depends.
Like, I'll give you an example, like-
the prayer thing doesn't account for them.
I'll give you an example like tax codes, right? Or jury duty. Oh, I didn't know how to do that. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that prayer can fit in that example, yeah.
So
I was refraining from saying the word sin because my perspective of sin was including actions that are very distinct to people who accept the credence of Islam. Like, for example, if you don't pray the way we pray but you haven't accepted Islam, I can't come up to you and say, oh, you're a sinner, and then give you the punishment for not praying, or if there is one. You get my point? I can't do that to you because you're not Muslim.
But I think no, he's
I
made.
get
But
it,
here's the problem.
But I do agree with you from the
agree?
moment when you said the moral aspect of it, yes. From that aspect, I can say it's a sin, yes.
And you, just to confirm, you would agree that ignorance of the law does not give you an exemption
It's not
from the punishments of breaking that law.
It depends. If I was in France and I had ignorance of the UK law and I
Normally,
broke it,
normatively, generally,
Yeah.
it doesn't give you an exemption, right?
You can't go around saying I just did that.
Yes.
of course, yeah, from that perspective, yes.
Okay.
Cool.
I can't take that as an absolute statement, though.
No one's asking that.
Okay, I
But,
thought you- I
right,
thought
a
you- I
general-
thought you were
a gen-
making it, declaring it as an
But
absolute.
but here's my issue. If we take that premise that we've just established, right? So knowledge of the law, knowledge without the law, that gives you no credence, right?
Yeah.
Same with intentionality. Intentional or unintentional, you still broke the law.
Yes, and you'll be judged
Right.
according to that. Yeah, that's what Sharia is.
Right, but that's Sharia.
Yeah.
But you're saying that's not proper. The true measure is what Allah judges your intentions by, not the action. That's what you said.
It's a high component, yeah, it's true.
But
So I
that-
wouldn't say, I'll say it's the
So
first
my
degree.
main point-
It is the first degree. Remember, I did correct it with him, remember?
But my main point to
Remember,
come-
I did correct it with him before, so
Yeah,
I
but you
was wrong
corrected it,
before.
but it still sounds like you're saying that.
So remember, it's the first degree by which you are judged by, right? So obviously,
Yeah.
your actions will still be judged by.
But
Remember,
it's the primary,
I think
right?
your friend was here before.
Yeah.
I was mentioning how, in our concepts of the Day of Reckoning, you still have every single wrong that was done will be judged by, to the point where there was a statement saying the horned sheep that attacked the sheep without horns will be judged,
Right.
even them, right?
Yes.
So, for example, you will still be judged based on your actions, but the determining factor of whether you go, these determining factors of your sins, right?
Yeah.
You know, I was about to say something wrong here, but it was wrong.
That's fine.
Uh,
That's
but-
what we're asking though. The determining factor,
The ultimate- yeah.
the primary denominator, or whatever terminology you want to use.
The hard line.
The thing that primarily convicts you, because the action is really important to you, right? But it's secondary to the intention.
Because I believe the intention confirms it.
But regardless if
Not
you
the
did it, we
consequence.
just confirmed with that in a legal precedent. Regardless if you knew the law or not, and you intentionally either did or
No,
did
but
not.
this is within the world. We have a
I
different
understand
concept
that.
of
I
afterlife.
understand that, but we would apply that in a Christian worldview
And
too.
Allah judges what you do in the world.
Well, with the Sharia, you judge by the Sharia. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you go into the afterlife, you judge again. You're
So that's why
But
you're
my
saying
main point is that the Sharia is handicapped.
insufficient. Yeah.
Well, no. What do you mean by handicapped, though? I don't
Handicapped as in like the primary measure is intention,
understand.
but the Sharia,
I
but the
can
Sharia,
never know truly what someone's
bro, the Sharia could never.
Yeah, it doesn't. The
That's
Sharia
the
doesn't
issue.
cover
It
that.
can't
Yeah, I
give
get-
absolute.
yeah.
It can't give
And
absolute
so-
judgments.
and
Yeah,
so-
you're right.
and so,
But I don't believe it. I
if
believe
you
in the
are
same aspect as you
placed-
guys as well.
But hold
You
on,
can't
hold
give
on.
absolute judgments.
Right. If you are placed before the Sharia court, and they are not able to establish your intention, an injustice can occur because you're saying the intention is the primary aspect of your guilt, not the action.
Yeah, and tell you, but I believe that's
So
the same
that
for your
also
laws.
that means actually I think that what that means now is that
That's a flaw in man, not
Well,
God.
No,
No,
that's
I
an Allah instituted legal system.
yeah. Wait, hold on. Wait. I just want to, so that means that system in itself, you could actually be getting away with sin, but be righteous in man's law, right? But in according to Allah's judgment,
You can
you're
get caught
not.
out. You can get caught out later. Yeah.
Yeah, but the person who has got the Sharia system, which is the highest in creation, the highest system, will be skipping along saying I'm a righteous dude because I've never been caught by the Sharia law.
But I believe-
But God's true judgment is unknown to them until judgment time.
Afterlife, yeah.
Until the afterlife.
Yeah.
So in other words, so that means the Sharia law isn't actually. That's what he's saying.
It's not an absolute law. No.
Yeah, but it's insufficient
But you
for
see-
you to
but you
know where
see
you
how
stand with
it's
God.
problematic.
But the only issue, but before you guys continue,
Yeah,
just
go
give me
on,
a
go
moment. The only issue
I
is,
get what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
The thing is, I'm not in disagreement, but I believe this is tantamount to every form of law. And you would disagree, I know, but just hold your disagreements for a moment. I believe this is tantamount to every single form of law on earth, right?
Okay.
I believe no law on earth, including the practical application of God's law, is absolute. Meaning, now, before
go on.
you gotta give me a moment. 'cause you
Yeah,
guys
sorry.
give
Yeah,
me
it's
a
fine.
moment,
Yeah, it's fine.
right?
It's fine.
What God has ordained
Yep.
is final, right? Finding out whether person A or person B has done so, right, is a different matter. Because that requires a human being to actually deduce and investigate and prove, right? The process of deducing, investigating, and proving, right, can lead to flaws there, depending on whether whether there's enough evidence or not, or whether there's enough deduction or not. You get my point? It's upon the flaw of the individual,
Yeah.
the process itself. The process is not objective. The law has these tantamount kind of paramount, like for example, adultery, this is this punishment, murder, this is the punishment, right? Now you have to prove that you've done murder or you've done adultery. You can get away with it, you can, right? But in the day of judgment, you won't. I don't see a flaw in that.
Can I spell out my position?
Yeah.
Because you're talking about application. I'm talking
I only
about.
talked about application, yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about an inherent flaw from a predetermined from Allah, which is given to the Islamic community, the Ummah, right, to do jurisprudence, to judge
Can you
right.
form it in a question so I can understand?
Huh? Go on.
Can you form it in a question so I can understand? Is it, if I say to you, is it why, if I say this question, is it
Yes.
why did Allah give this if it's inherently flawed?
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go
So
with
why
that.
is it, so if I were to say, why did Allah give it if it's inherently reliant on a process that can be flawed?
Based upon the knowledge.
Of the interpretation of man, right?
No. Based upon the knowledge that the true measure of someone's culpability
We found out in the day
is
judgment.
intention.
Right, yeah, so God knowing that man can never access that, right? Why would God give them a law to act by? To judge by, right?
No. Why?
No?
Why?
Oh, yeah.
How can someone be called unjust when they're not judged by the proper metric, which is intention?
Oh, but these statements of man here, these judgments that the qadis or the whatever people give
Yeah.
here, right? They're not absolute statements.
But this is the issue. The court still does a ruling, and
Of course, to the best, yeah.
Sharia means something.
yeah, and then an injustice can occur.
Yeah, of course it can, yeah. But
Why
in all
has
laws, even yours. That's how
why
I
has Allah instituted that system?
Well, because this is the nature of a test. This is how we are. I mean, I can't, to be fair, in all fairness, I'll say this to you now.
Yeah.
Any statement I say as to why Allah has done it, I can never fully say
Yeah,
it.
we
because
appreciate that.
right?
I understand that.
I can't, right?
We're just having a conversation. But
So when it comes to that, the only way I can interpret it, and I could be wrong, is the same aspect as why we're here in the first place. Muslims, we believe we are here with a certain set of laws and a certain set of things that we're supposed to follow, right? And then we are given these capital punishment laws and all these other things, right? Which we're supposed to study and apply when certain cases come to us. Because I know you mentioned before how the church doesn't actually adjudicate. You said the church
within the walls of the church, they adjudicate. But in terms of society, because the church is not Islamic, there is no oneness of the church and state.
Yeah.
We have a distinction between the church and the secular. Some traditions are closer in church and state. Some traditions are wider.
Okay,
But
yeah.
that's how we see it.
I'll ask a quick question, a tangent, but
Yeah.
is this relevant to modern times or are you talking about of all time? Because I remember churches.
So historically, there's a
was
range,
yeah.
certain traditions, certain time periods.
Yeah.
Some churches have been really, really close to the state. Some churches have been
But
really,
there were
really
never an
far.
absolute moment where
Right.
they were
I'll give you an
everyone says-
example. The first few hundred years of the Christendom,
Yeah,
or first 300 years of Christianity, very distinct, so distinct that we were being persecuted by the Roman state.
Yeah.
Right. And then today, distinct. But in
There
medieval
was a time,
times,
yeah,
it
I
was
remember,
quite
yeah,
close.
yeah. But there were like two different bodies.
There were
that
always two distinct.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
Because, for
but-
example, even in the Old Testament, we have prophet and king. Right?
So you have those distinctions.
Yeah.
And the prophet is the one that judges.
And Jesus talks about give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give to God what belongs to God.
Okay, perfect.
An emphasis on
Alright.
there is a church and there is a state.
Okay, sweet.
So-
So from the Islamic perspective, we do have a judicial body that's separate from the ruler, in a sense where the judicial body can judge the ruler, right? However, the judicial body is also still within the confines of Islam. Like, for example, I understand you're saying the state can be secular, but the church can still be, yeah, I get you. So we have no issue with the concept that God has given us law. We have to now take cases and judge by that law, and our judgment can be incorrect. We have no issue with that.
The problem is, see, this is my
Why?
issue.
I know
You're
your
trying
problem
to, you're
is
trying
why
to,
would God do that?
No, my issue. The issue is that why is it that we're trying to attribute this issue to man's judgment when the tools he was given by Allah
We're flawed in the first place.
are flawed in the first place?
Well, it's because we judge based on the best of our abilities from our perspective.
But that's our issue. Is like, why
It's not
would
by the
Allah
conclusions of the events.
give you an imperfect, improper system?
It's to judge us.
We agree, for example, from a Christian perspective, that God has given us a proper law, a perfect law, and we improperly apply it, even though we try not to. Right?
Improperly apply.
God has given you an imperfect system from the beginning. That's the issue, because the metric is you are
Deduction,
culpable.
investigation and
You're
such to
culpable
determine.
by intention, not by the law you broke. That's the main metric. The secondary metric is that you broke the law.
Say that one more time.
The primary metric is that you intended to break the law, so we find you culpable because of that. The secondary metric is that you actually did it. You actually broke the law.
So the human beings only have access to the second. You're saying, why would God give you a law that's determined by it?
Why would he give you a system
Yeah.
which is
For
flawed?
governance.
Huh?
It's for governance.
For what?
Governance.
For governance.
For governance.
But that's my issue, is that if this is Allah's law, Sharia contains Allah's moral law, but
kind of,
Allah lays
escape, yeah.
He lays responsibility on your intention, not the law, the breaking of the law. How can you just
breaking of the law is still there,
because
but yeah,
the
I don't
conclusion I'm trying to get to is that you have to admit that the Sharia courts can, on a fundamental level, dispense injustice, not justice.
No.
Right?
It does not have the full capacity to dispense justice only.
Right, and it's
true.
not just down to the imperfection of man,
Well, it's because but we believe it's down to the imperfection of man.
but it's the system as well.
No.
That's the issue.
How do you know there's a judgment day?
That's a separate question. That's a separate question.
The imperfections.
You see what I'm saying, by the way?
Yeah, but then
Okay, cool.
it's because I have no issue with it being imperfect. That's the idea. The moral foundations of the law are, of course, perfect. No, because you're saying systemically, it is, right? When you say systemically, do you mean the application?
We just clarified that it has Allah's law is infused. So the moral law is infused into the Sharia.
No, it's
It is
pulled from
instituted
it. Yeah.
by Allah.
The same way your
for
intentions are. We
humans,
mentioned it before.
Because the
It's
intention,
pulled from it.
the
Remember that.
intention was that this law was to be given to enact justice, right?
Of course.
Cool, but the metric is inherently unjust.
No. When you say the
Because
mechanism,
it does it by intention.
No, it does it by law. But the intention is the main
the
metric.
thing is
That's
that,
the
that
issue.
jump,
Yeah.
that jump,
intention is missed.
that jump you're making, I can't agree with. I can say it is inherently incomplete, meaning it's inherently. You determine it. You've given it a moral distinction to be
Not us.
unjust.
We agreed on this
No,
before.
the statement unjust.
It's Allah's law is morally infused in Sharia.
No. We gotta wait a second. You know how we mentioned before that how intentions, we've all agreed upon that intentions have to be pulled from God's moral thing, whatever you want to call it. God's
His
moral
nature, his nature.
Sorry, yeah, it's nature. I'll say law just because of my own comfort, right? God's moral law. Because I
It
don't
doesn't
want to
work
say.
for us.
Doesn't work.
I know this.
I think that's what
That's where we get confused.
It's okay. It's okay. Just we'll leave it there.
Because God's
right?
moral law can't be apart
I'll
from
just say God, right?
Okay.
Just because I can't say that word myself, right?
Okay.
So the intentions have to be literally is determined by what God is determined to be good or bad, right? To be determined whether it was a good intention or not, right? The same aspect with law. If the God and His statements are pure, perfect, and without fault. The system in which you apply God's law is flawed. Systemically, you can say it's flawed, but that does not necessarily mean that what it's being sourced from is flawed.
We're not saying that. We're saying that we're not
Systemically,
saying,
it's what we're saying.
we didn't claim, remember, that Allah is imperfect. We claim that He's given you an imperfect system to judge others by, and so the implication is that if that's true, which I think you agreed to, that is inherently flawed, then naturally,
You know what? I'm
naturally,
listening to it. I'm rerunning my words.
yeah, naturally injustice occurs because it's an inherently flawed system where the metric to judge whether someone is a criminal or not is subpar, right? And so the judgments are going to be subpar.
Well, yeah,
therefore
because God's the ultimate judge.
leading
True.
to
Yeah.
injustice, not only at the hands of imperfect man's judgment, but by the metric itself. The metric causes injustice. Because
But the metric is bound by
the law, not the intention,
no.
because only Allah
Yes,
knows
but
the
that's not what
intention.
I was going to say. I was going to say the metric is intertwined. The system is intertwined with the fact that man
we agree
is.
it's intertwined too.
No.
But
You're
you're
gonna let me
saying-
finish. You're gonna,
Sorry, go on.
The system being flawed is the fact that it's relying upon man's interpretation of God's law, right? So, not from your, not from, not from the Christian, not from the Christian perspective.
Because
Yeah.
repeated the same thing you already addressed. Like, it's not about the law. It's not about. He's not saying that.
Sorry guys, watch out.
Sorry, brother, you're gonna have to.
Go on, bro. Now, I forgot you said something about the law being the humans are using it wrongly, systemically wrong. He's not talking about that. He's saying that Allah is giving you a law that is flawed in the first place.
So yeah, no, but then that's the thing. The law is a set of statements, a set of principles, right?
I think you're giving them a metric
So
to measure someone.
to measure something.
Because you measure someone by law, or what you're saying you measure them by intention.
So we can measure by intention, like the brother was saying before. You can obviously look at any case and you can say, why did you do this? And someone can bring out an intention, blah blah blah. You can kind of deduce someone's intention, but you can never get it full. Right?
But just to clarify real quick, sorry. You said that you cannot. It's the intention that
only determines whether
determines if you sinned or not, not the act.
Remember the kid stealing.
Right. And then manslaughter, for example, all these examples.
Yeah.
You said it's not the act, it's the intention that convicts you. That's what makes you a sinner.
Yeah.
That's what just to clarify, that's what we're breaking down.
Ultimately, that's essentially what determines you the sinner. I'm replaying it because from one aspect, well, yeah. So we'll flow with it. I'll come back to this part. I was thinking later, right?
Okay.
So, trying to dodge cameras like flies. The system itself, the law itself, the criteria. What did you say? There was the metric.
Yeah,
The metric by which you apply, right?
Yeah.
The fact that you don't have full access to intentions. You can judge someone's intention, but you don't have full access to determine, right? Meaning you are always going to be flawed, no matter what your judgment is. There's always a margin of error.
Yeah.
We have no issue with that. If you say why, I can't answer that.
Okay. That's our contention
That's where
because
I understand there's an
because we
impasse
don't understand. I'm
Why
going to speak
would
for us,
God-
by the way. We don't understand why God would institute a system
That can be.
that the metric itself, not just the judgment of man, the metric itself can cause injustice. And this is predetermined by Allah.
metric is the judgment of man.
Yeah, but the metric, which metric? And we're talking about the metric of law breaking. Now, we would agree that is a good and godly metric. You're saying that the act is not what makes you a sinner, it's the intention.
Ultimately, yes.
And so we're saying that's a faulty system, not in the afterlife, but here on earth, because an injustice can occur because man cannot see intention all the time.
That is true. Yeah.
That's the
Injustice
issue.
can occur, yeah.
And so Allah has instituted a system from the dawn of time for Muslims on earth, right, and the Caliphate or the Ummah, whoever, right, a system where not only the injustice can occur based on the judge's misjudgment, but also the
because
metric
of the fact
itself.
that they don't have full metric.
Right.
Yeah. So I can agree on that upon the If,
So,
if,
so
if the
don't
argument
you see that
of-
as an issue?
I can see how you see it as an issue because you're saying
So
what's
someone is a sinner basically by intention. Well, personally, from our perspective, a person would be a sinner by intention,
and action, right?
right? No, intent. Just a person for us, right? They
So this will be the last part for both. I'll let you finish and then.
Yeah,
For us,
me too.
intention and act. We already said before that that's an act. As soon as you think in your mind lustfully to a woman,
consider it an
you've already
act.
committed adultery. If you hate your brother in your heart, you've already committed murder. All those things, right? So intention, we've already.
I'm gonna try and come right because I see more people coming.
Who
Sorry
with the
about
camera
that.
this way?
Intention, we've already said, right, is an act, right? And the breaking of the law for you to judge each other on that system,
Yeah.
but he's judging you according to another system.
Yeah.
No,
so-
no.
No. He's got.
He has created a system for you to judge people, and that system is flawed. So therefore, God has been the author and the institutor of injustice because the metric is fundamentally flawed. The criterion is flawed. Why would Allah do that?
Thinking about it now, I don't see a flaw in it. No, I don't. You know what, sorry. No, let me reword it. Before you contend it, I'll let you say what you say, but I misspoke there. I don't see an issue with the fact that the criterion is flawed.
Because
And I can't figure out why, and I want to see.
I tell you why.
why.
Because an unjust judgment
Yeah.
can occur.
Yeah.
And we can say the exception is, okay, let's say you're a judge in the Sharia court and you've made a bad judgment. That's on him. That's not on Allah because let's say Allah's system is perfect and you've just misapplied it. We're saying that we can clearly see that not only the judge can be imperfect, but the metric, the one in which you measure someone's criminality, is also imperfect because you're saying there's a higher standard.
That God has to judge to in the end. Yeah.
And you're saying
No,
it's
no,
not.
and
and
I
it's
get it,
not-
but-
and you said categorically, it's the intention that convicts you, that makes you a sinner, not the action.
Yeah. So
someone
I get
says-
what you're saying,
right.
but I still can't see why. I'm trying to ruminate a bit.
I think okay, if the highest metric is intention,
Yeah.
has there been instances where a judge has seen, like, has there been instances where a judge in a court has seen somebody and given them the wrong intention?
Giving them.
Judgment.
Seen and seen,
Judge
giving them the
them-
wrong
judge them
judgment.
as the wrong
Give them the wrong judgment as the wrong intention. So has a judge seen somebody do a crime and they've given them the wrong judgment? So
Of course, yeah, there are many cases, yeah.
So the highest metric is intention, but there's instances where a judge can give the wrong judgment of somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
And how is that a perfect system for you?
How is it the perfect
Yeah,
system?
so like-
So wait. Interestingly enough, I want to try and frame this correctly.
If the highest metric is
System.
intention,
Give an example. Give an
No,
example.
I understand what you're saying, but I wanted to frame the word system, right? The process. When you say system, what do you mean by that?
So,
The
obviously,
metric by whether you considered someone's
yeah.
just or unjust.
So
or
obviously we
criminal
have a benchmark
Yeah.
of. So for example, in the British system, there is we have evidentiary standards. So we must prove beyond reasonable doubt that someone has done something, right? So there is a standard of evidence to then convict based upon a law, right? So let's say that took place, right? That there's evidentiary, I'm sure there is evidentiary standards
Yeah,
in
there is,
Sharia
yeah,
court,
yeah.
and then there are also laws in Sharia court, and you must reach the evidence threshold.
So yeah.
To then
So that's what
convict.
you mean by system, yeah?
Right, that's part of the system because it's the measure on which someone can be criminalized or not.
Yeah.
My issue is that you said it's not the law, the breaking of the law
That determines someone to
that
be
determines
sinful.
sin.
Yeah.
It's the intention. But you
Ultimate.
don't have that system in Sharia courts.
We don't have access to it. Yeah.
So when you truly commit a crime by intention, that cannot be ascertained always in a Sharia court
covered
system.
by the Sharia.
So they go by law.
So crime and sin is separate here.
Okay, but let's use sin. Because Sharia law is based upon what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? And yes, there can be grievous sin and all sort of stuff, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about simply if you have done an immoral action. Okay? So when it comes to that, my issue is You said it's not the action that makes you immoral, but the Sharia court can only judge someone if the evidence tells them that they've broken this law. Broken it meaning by action.
Yeah. Because there's the only action. Yeah, but then remember, I'm not contesting that.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
So that's our issue.
Just to understand, you're basically saying the Sharia doesn't cover intent.
No,
The Sharia cannot cover intent.
No, I'll rephrase it. It cannot, in its fullest ability. It can, to a degree, like all of us, we can assume.
To a degree,
something,
yeah.
But there's
To a
always
degree.
an assumption. There's always an assumption.
But
right?
but that's the thing.
Meaning, like, if you.
So there's a margin of error then if
There's always a margin of error, right?
No,
But the issue
that's
is-
fine. We don't mind a margin of error with the judges.
Remember,
right?
I'm not
We don't-
contesting you. Remember,
Okay, cool.
I'm not contesting you. I said I'm trying to figure out why that is an issue.
Because
your perspective,
God
you're saying-
has instituted an imperfect measure
Yes.
that causes injustice in of itself inherently. Without man.
Yes. Yeah, but then to be corrected later.
You just said yes.
Well, no, yeah, the system can do things
Inherently, without man's flawed judgment, inherently it can cause
Well, it's
injustice.
conditioned to it.
But
It can't produce injustice without man's full judgment.
no, but it can because
Give me an example.
because if you break the law, and that's an action, right? But you're saying the real measure is the intention. How does the law figure out who is culpable or not?
No,
right?
just answer the question. You said that it inherently produces injustice regardless of man's thinking.
as in- as in on a
it's
theoretical
conditional.
level.
I'm saying it's conditional on it. Even theoretically, it's conditional on it. And you said it isn't, so I said provide me an example.
Say that again.
I said it's conditional upon man's flawed judgment for it to be
No, I'm
injustice.
saying regardless of man's flawed judgment, I'm saying inherently the system is a flawed system.
As in it has a gap.
As in it cannot arbitrate. If Allah is using that system, right, and He does use, if Allah, like just a hypothetical, if Allah uses that system separate from intentionality, like humans do, then the system is flawed by nature, because you're saying that intention is the defining metric for sin.
Repeat that statement. If Allah uses it separate from
Without intention, because we agree that it can work because Allah knows all things and He can know the intention. If we're judging by intention, Allah knows all things, and therefore He can judge righteously all the time, right? If He's, but if Allah uses the system He's given to humans without His divine knowledge of intentions,
There's always a gap. There is truth. Yes.
not a gap, a flaw.
What, okay. We're going back to the statement. 'Cause I just want to understand something. You're saying the system is inherently flawed, right? Regardless of human,
Interaction.
without human interaction. I'm saying it is flawed. Is contingent. Its imperfectness is conditional and contingent on human judgment.
But you agree that the law is imperfect as well.
Oh yeah, but contingent on it.
But it's not
Meaning-
contingent because Allah instituted it before humanity was created.
No. Because if you see a series of statements, that is law, right? That's not imperfect. That's perfect statements. It's contingent upon man's judgment to determine whether the judgment has been flawed or not. So the system the system is the application of God's law, right? The like you said, evidential. It could be so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, Sharia Law is
So the
more
system,
influence,
yeah. So the system is the application, the practical nature of it. So the system is flawed because it's contingent upon man.
No, because the system
You're
was
saying
given
it's-
by Allah.
No. The system, yes, the system has been ordained. As in, this is your law,
Yeah,
man, right?
and the metric was given by Allah,
No,
right?
remember this. This is your law, man, right? It's kind of like, this might be the worst analogy, but if it is, just shut me down. It's kind of like telling a chef he has to produce such and such and such a thing without giving him knives, right?
But is that what Allah does?
No,
He
no.
doesn't give you all the tools.
The statements, right, the guidelines are perfect. As in, we're supposed to do X, Y, and Z.
No, hold on, no. Go on.
You understand what I'm saying?
I hear what you're
When
saying.
you say the application of it, right, being the system, is flawed because it's contingent upon man.
Yeah, but see, here's my issue. I think you made a mistake here because you just said that the system is it the system the word you use or
The
it's
application.
perfect.
No. The system isn't.
The system's not perfect
The
now.
law is the presupposed. The law is the axiomatic principles outside of the system.
But is the law perfect?
Yeah, because it's axiomatic. It's outside of the system.
But you just said that the metric is the intention of the law.
Metric is the intention of the law.
Yes.
Of the law.
As in, I measure your culpability, if I'm using the Islamic standard, I measure your culpability based on intention, not law.
So that doesn't apply to Muslims. That applies to God.
I understand that. What we're saying
The
is,
system you're given.
why is the system you're given a lesser system?
Because we're lesser. We don't have access to the objective system.
But that
but it judges
leads,
your-
but that's okay. That leads to injustice via an ordained legal system by Allah.
No. It leaves a gap where injustice can occur.
But we're saying
It
that
doesn't make it
but
ultimately injustice.
I need you to hear this real quick. I need to spell this out. We agree, both of us agree, that regardless if the system is perfect or imperfect, men are imperfect, judges are imperfect, and they can give imperfect decisions. We're aware of that all the time, right? We're saying, forget the judges for a second, put them to the side.
Yes.
If
The metric itself is flawed.
the intention.
No,
The
because I don't
metric itself is
understand that.
flawed because you're saying we in the Sharia system today, we judge them by the law, but Allah judges them by their intention. And the defining characteristic of someone's sin, the defining measure of someone's sin
intention.
is if they intended to do it, not if they actually did it.
Yes.
Do you see how that's fundamentally flawed now?
Again,
So the law doesn't cover that.
you can't. Before I even spoke,
We're having a good conversation.
how
He's
is
a nice
that? How
guy.
is that respectful?
He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. Yeah.
But do you see that?
Do you see
see
where
that?
we're at?
I do. No. Remember, I have no contention. I thought he was.
It's
fighting.
on us. It's on us.
No, I thought he was fighting. Sorry, no. One of them waved their hands up. I thought he hit someone. I have no issue with the system being flawed, but I'm saying the statement that the law is flawed from our perspective. You saying that our law is flawed.
No, our concern is that you should be that this is an issue.
Yeah.
You're saying that the fact that God gave us a system that judges people, right?
That is flawed.
According to God's law.
No, because it's really you saying that the law is not enough. Because the intention,
No, it's not the law. It's the system.
yeah, but it's a system of laws. It's a legal system.
Remember how I understand. This is how I understand law.
Yeah,
Set of principles
Yeah.
that have been ordained.
Yeah.
Human beings apply it.
yeah.
So
But
the law is the set of principles.
I wanna-
the
I wanna-
system is the application.
this is the issue. We're not talking about the application of man. We can say
We're talking about the principles.
We can say the moral law in Allah. We don't obviously we're Christian, but we can say for a sake of argument, the law of Allah is perfect, right? The issue is what makes you a sinner or immoral or a wrongdoer, whatever word you want to use.
Ultimately, yeah. In its final
Ultimately,
judgment,
is intention.
Yeah, God will look at you and judge you based on that. Yeah.
But and you're talking about the intentions of people on earth,
What do
their
you mean?
actions on earth, right?
Yeah, include the actions of it.
We're not just saying their actions are wrong, you're saying their intention is wrong. And if we pick and choose, you're saying if we go with how you're made culpable for something, it's based on your intention.
According to God.
Right, not your action. And we're saying, well, why has Allah given you a system of
You have
justice,
access, yeah.
which judges you by your action, not
Which
your
means
intention?
it misses the thing that you're actually
No, remember, I said I can't answer why, and you guys gave me that. It's true, I can't, right? Ask me
But
about.
that's why I wanna segue to why that's an issue.
No, I get it. I understand it's an issue with you. We came back to the same.
No. I think it's an issue.
No,
for you.
I understand you think it's an issue for me.
Yeah.
Remember, forgive my words. I got a bit tired. I might be
fine.
saying the wrong
We'll
things.
come back
right?
to that, yeah.
The issue isn't, for me, the issue isn't that, right? We've understood this. I'm trying to understand why you think it's an issue. Now, remember,
We're going to come to that.
now you see, that's where we're at. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And then when you mentioned something, correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned that you determined, what was it? You said something about, I said that it's not inherently, the law is not inherently flawed. I said the system is flawed because it's contingent upon man.
Yeah.
And then you
said
contested
right?
that, yeah.
Yeah, because we're trying to ascertain that the measure is flawed, not the man applying it.
But that's contingent upon each other.
But it's only contingent upon each other in practice. We're talking about even as a system, regardless of human interaction, Allah had instituted this system before humans were ever created, right? It's predetermined. Okay, so the system itself is flawed, and then the humans came along and made it even more flawed.
No. Because
because
from our perspective, sorry, you want to go?
I think it's because the system is looking for action.
It can only.
It's looking for action.
Yeah.
Right? You do an action, you've broken that system.
Yeah.
However, the intention is you're standing with God. Is you're standing with Allah.
Ultimately, yeah.
Exactly. The law doesn't cover that.
It can,
law doesn't cover
in its
that.
in its totality, yes.
So implication of that, which is why I saying about misinjustice, is you can spend your life following this law, will be the most unjust person in the eyes of
When you
Allah.
say following this law, what do you mean?
You're not doing the action,
Ah, okay.
right? But if
Because
intention,
I'm only sorry to cut you off. I'm only talking about like penal code.
Okay.
That's all I'm talking about. Penal code. That's what we're talking about, right? Things that require penalties.
Yeah. But
Okay.
but I'm
Because
trying
when
to figure out.
when he said when you spend your life following this law,
we're talking about Sharia.
because Sharia has many. Sorry, brother.
Yeah, it has many components to it.
Has many components to it, brother.
I think he's doing everything.
Oh, yeah. I know, but then I work for TFL. When we sign the agreement, there's all this crap about it, isn't it? But when we're talking about this component here, we're talking about penal code. For example, prayer is part of the Sharia law. But although I'm considered sinful if I don't pray, there's no penal code to it, right?
Real quick, can I just
So we're
would
talking
you
penal
would
code,
you
right?
agree
Yeah.
that people come up with bad ideas or systems?
Of course, yeah.
Right. So that's our point. Is that regardless of human
You're
interaction,
saying this is a bad idea,
it's a flawed system,
and you're saying it's because of the
and
fact
it's
that
instituted by Allah, predetermined for you to use as
When
a
you say
metric
instituted by Allah,
of justice.
when you say instituted by Allah, what do you mean?
It's what he's giving you.
Was
No,
Sharia?
but the reason why I ask these questions is because if I have a misconstrued understanding of what he's saying, if he can break it down for me, I can
Yeah,
understand
it's
what he's saying. It's
like-
in fair play.
Because we already agreed that Sharia for the Ummah is predetermined by Allah.
But you know that Sharia changes per ummah.
I understand that there's a metric, but the moral law within it doesn't change.
Yeah, that's true.
So Allah's no, don't.
No. I'm thinking. I'm just making sure. Making sure.
Right,
Making
okay,
sure.
cool, cool,
Remember,
cool.
this isn't against you. I'm just making sure
Right,
my words are right. You just settle. Yeah?
No, I'm just. I don't want you to make a mistake on
not-
camera, like not on
It's
camera,
fine.
but
No, because I'm human. I'm making sure when I'm doing these little things I'm looking at, I'm just making sure the words I'm about to say
Okay, cool.
are correct,
All
right?
Yeah.
So don't catch me on that.
all right.
But continue.
Okay. So my issue is that the Sharia law has Allah's law morally infused into it. There are temporary. You're saying there's temporary laws.
Can
in
I
Sharia.
change that to say it's derived from? Not morally infused.
I think that gets into semantics.
The reason why I say derived is
Yeah.
because it's the purpose is the human beings attempting to enact it.
So
That's
there-
deliberation.
So is there anything that's absolutely right or wrong in the Sharia?
In the commandments of God.
Any aspect.
Yeah, in the commandments of God. Yeah,
They can never change.
meaning
They're always absolutely right. Allah's commandments are absolutely right all the time.
no, because the penal code changed.
So Allah's morality, the one He dispenses upon
No,
you.
you said law, not morality.
Yeah, but Allah's law is moral law.
Not from my perspective.
No, I know that He's given you stuff, but there's things that are like temporary, and then there's things that are absolute.
I know, but you mentioned something. You said, can it change, right?
Yeah, I was talking about Allah's law, the moral law.
Okay, so you're talking about the moral perspective of what's considered good or bad. Can that change?
Yeah, because I was asking about if anything
in Sharia.
can change in Sharia. Because I would say,
Yes,
I
they
would
can.
say,
Yeah,
no, but
Well,
that's
I
my
can give you an
issue.
example then.
Okay, give me an example.
You can't say no, but I can give you examples.
The reason I say no is because I'm saying anything, not something, anything. And that's not true because murder is always wrong, correct?
Wait, when you say anything, how are you using it?
I'm trying to find absolute laws in the Sharia.
So you're asking, can anything change, or you're asking, are there absolute laws? Because they're different
Let's go
questions.
with that. That's a better question.
Yeah,
That's a
they're
better
different
question. Are there absolute laws in the Sharia?
Yeah, murder's wrong. Yeah.
Right. That's my point. Because we're trying to come back to my point about, is the Sharia law predetermined? And it is.
If you mean the moral components of it, right, the derivative, then yes.
Keep saying derived.
Because
I
it's
don't know
derived. Because
why.
remember, you have to understand how we see it.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware.
Tell me what you mean by derived.
Sharia law is man's application of God's law derived from the Quran, right? So it's derivative, meaning we see these laws, right? We derive it, we apply it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in a sense where it's a code by code law that's been given to us, right? That's the reason why we have jurisprudence,
Right.
where you have scholars that discuss as time go by. So that's the reason why I mean derivative. So when a new thing comes up, like let's say is sleeping, sorry, I pointed that way. Is sleeping with an AI girlfriend considered adultery?
Right.
I kid you not, someone's going to speak about this.
No, I know.
Right? So,
I know.
do you see what I mean? Then they have to derive it. Is cryptocurrency considered?
Get out, get away. Oh my days, man, these people. Yeah, I'm coming. I just gotta go in 2 minutes, but
that's okay.
can
That's
I
great.
make my
You see what I
main
mean?
point?
That's
Is that
what I mean by
right?
derived. That's the reason why I
cool.
use it.
I think that's the same what we're saying, really. All right. So I just want to make my main point. My main point is this: is that when it comes to the system, I think we've established that it's not only that man can misapply Allah's law, but we would agree that there is a potential, not saying always, but there's a potential, and there probably has happened, where judges have misapplied God's absolute moral law onto someone, causing an injustice because they did not account for their intention.
So okay.
And they
I may
could not
be
account for their
incorrect in saying this, so whoever's listening, forgive me. But I don't believe man can be judging morality on earth. You can't judge morality. So when we're judging,
Wait, say that again, sorry.
we're not judging morality. So for example,
We're
when
not
you
judging morality.
so I understand you're saying that, but I'm still speaking from my perspective. So just let me roll with it, yeah. Just so, because if we're gonna go back and forth, it's not really gonna end, is it?
No, just.
We're talking. When you are saying that you believe there's a moment where judges have misjudged the moral position of a person unjustly, they're not judging the moral position of the person. Now I understand if you're saying this person is declared a liar.
Yeah, I'll wait.
I understand when you say this person is declared a liar and such, they're doing it based on evidential things, but they also acknowledge. And as far as I'm aware, I think there's evidence for this where they would end it by saying Allahu A'lam, meaning God knows best, right? There's always a moment where they will declare that, although you were declared as such, and you're declared as such a person, right? Your moral standing is never truly known fully. This is your state, this is how you are judged now based on the evidence.
Right.
That I have no issue with. We're not judging the ultimate morality of a person. We're not. We're judging them based on, I wouldn't say we.
I think you're missing what I'm saying though.
Can you repeat it then?
Yeah. So my issue is not, you keep trying to bring man in, and I'm trying to say, separate man for a second.
I can't, that's the issue.
But you can.
With Sharia, you can't.
But you can, because we just agreed that you can create an idea of a system that's fundamentally flawed.
But that's a man-made.
Yeah, but understood, but it's possible, right? We can just agree that a system.
Within the contingent to man, yes, it's possible.
Right, but what we're saying is Allah has created a system that is fundamentally flawed.
No, the issue,
Because
the terms we're using are wrong here.
No, I don't think they are. But let me make my point, because
Yes.
so, and I gotta go soon as well. But the issue here is, I think for us, I'll speak for us, is that okay? But the issue is that Allah has given a fundamentally flawed system for you to measure your neighbor by, effectively, right? Your person, your.
More like a judge to judge at a.
But yeah, but
it's not like
how
me
it
looking
takes
at
place, that's fine. I understand that man's component in that, and they can misjudge. The issue is that they were given a flawed system to work with, a flawed system that can lead to injustice. So Allah has given a system to the best of human judges, which still, even by their own understanding and education and all that sort of stuff, can still enact an unjust result, an unjust judgment, not necessarily because of them, for the judges, but because of Allah's system.
See,
The system covers
see,
itself.
the system.
Because I just want to root it again. You said it's not the act that condemns you; it's the intention.
Ultimately.
And the law, and the law is on the act.
But
You know what I mean when I say ultimately?
I know, but the ruling that passes here on earth is unjust.
Okay. When I keep saying system, when you say system, are we understanding that it's the application of man's God? I mean,
No,
man's.
I told
law.
you we separate that.
Okay,
We're
so
talking about
the issue is I can't.
isolated.
The issue is I can't.
But we can.
No. You can, but I can't. The reason why I say this is because
Yeah. Sorry, no, that's fine. Keep going. Sorry.
the issue is Sharia is the application of God's law, meaning perfect God's law. So if any systemic issues arise, it's simply because of the fact that it's part of this world. Everything's imperfect.
Does the Sharia exist outside of man?
What do you mean by that?
Does-
If there was
does
no
it- is
no
there a
person,
Sharia?
if there was no person acting,
No.
it's contingent upon man. It's true.
So God. So God. I just want to get this correct straight. Allah's law only exists because of humanity. His
No,
law
not
is
because,
dependent on
not
creation.
because, not because, not
Is-
because.
But remember,
It's not because then.
No. Remember,
you just said it's
no.
because it's a 3-1 kind of thing. Yeah.
Sharia is man's application of God's law on earth.
But-
But if there's no man and there's no earth, all it is God's objective
Bro,
morality.
respectfully-
that is just
Respectfully, I'm trying to talk about the system outside of man. But you're saying I cannot do it unless we talk about man. And I'm sitting there going, so is the law of Allah and His Sharia dependent on creation on humanity?
So the law of Allah isn't. Sharia is.
So the Sharia is not the law of God.
No, it's the application of God's law on earth.
But that's why I asked, did Sharia,
same thing then?
hold on. Did Sharia exist before humanity?
What in existence of God? Yeah.
Yeah, as a system. As a
The system.
legal system, yes. A legal system. A system can exist outside of humanity.
Did it exist as
You
a
have the
legal
laws of
system?
gravity, for
No,
example.
I'm not talking about that.
But you have the laws of gravity, for example. They existed before humanity.
Laws of logic.
See, the framework of what you're saying, I don't believe so. I can't answer
We have
that.
a system of
I
logic.
can't answer that.
Yeah, laws of logic. Do they
Yeah,
exist?
yeah, those are laws. The
So
laws
the
of
system
God, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
in terms of like moral, remember when I said when they are moral statements?
When it comes to the institution of Allah, right? You're saying it's contingent upon humanity, and we're saying did it exist by itself? Because if it's contingent upon humanity, then that means that Allah's institution, His Sharia, can only exist dependent on if humanity exists
Allah's
and
institution.
humanity acts within it.
I wouldn't call it Allah's institution.
But that's what you were alluding to, in our opinion. So my point is this.
You want me to correct that then? Or?
But
I'll leave it.
because there's a
You need
bigger
to go.
point
You
here.
need to go.
I need to go in. There's a bigger point here. The bigger point here is, I believe,
Yeah.
from what you've told me, that the fundamental measure, right, is a measure that was instituted by Allah, not contingent on humanity, or not contingent on humanity. There's the application, that's separate. The law itself is not contingent upon humanity. The metric that condemns someone or makes someone culpable by the law is not dependent on humanity. Okay, so our issue is that if someone is condemned by intention truly over law, then why is Allah giving you... Yes, as in you said Allah is truly just and He truly judges by intention, not law. Why is He giving you a different system? Why is He giving you a subpar system? Which injustice systemically can occur because of the system.
You see, I like that statement. Because before you were saying...
That's what you were saying.
I've been saying that though.
I'll concede for that. Remember why I can't answer. And you allowed me that.
I allowed you that.
I
but
can't answer
we
why.
were trying to get
right?
to our segue of like, this affects Allah's perfection.
No.
It affects His divine
Remember.
status.
Sharia, and I know you're going to hate me saying this again, but it's true. Sharia is not the law of God. It is the application of the law of God by man.
But we just agreed that they was morally infused with Allah's law, which is
No,
a turn on
derived,
absolute.
not infused. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but-
derived is a process in which a man interprets it.
Yeah, but it's there.
So no, the derivative means it's a process in which man
Is
interprets.
Allah's morality present in Sharia law?
Is Allah's morality present in Sharia law?
Yes.
Yes, because it's the
Okay.
But it's Sharia law. It's not like this book that you open and then it's just bam. You find a case, you apply it to what was written in the Quran, and then if it's correct, it matches it. It's conditions. It has conditions set, right? Okay. So best way I can explain this is this, because again, I'm not contesting that the system is flawed. I'm contesting that Allah is flawed because the system is flawed. I'm saying
Right.
the system. I'm contesting that.
This is where we're getting to. This is where we're getting
And I
to.
think there's always going to be an impasse because how I define Sharia is it's a systemic derivation of God's law, case by case basis, that's done by a collection of scholars who interpret God's law.
That's my point though. The injustice can occur.
The injustice can occur, but it's
Right.
contingent upon man.
No, it's also the responsibility or the fault can apply to man, and what we've demonstrated can apply to the system in which Allah is instituted.
No. Again, when you say instituted, I'll leave that. Because
As in
I'll leave it
specifically-
be. I'll leave it be.
But specifically, the measure in which you are told to judge by.
I'll leave it be.
I'll let you have the last one because I gotta go.
That's fine. Because there's always an impasse because of how we define things.
Right. But I think
Ultimately, I know there's a gap in which I can define. I can't define something because one, I'm not a jurist, right? It is something worth studying for me because you guys have made very fair points. And although technically this wasn't the discussion I intended, it was about free word determinism, right? But you guys made very fair points, and I'm not contesting that. It was more so about how Sharia was defined that kind of made the impasse. Right? So I'll just leave it there because there's something worth studying for me, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But it was a good discussion.
That was a good discussion, bro.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
Okay. Good sport.
The wrap up is this. Unfortunately, we tried to ascertain to what standard is someone made culpable for their actions or for their sin. And the guy over here, really nice guy, but effectively said he said very specifically, verbatim, it's not the action that condemns you or makes you culpable, it is the intention.
Right.
And we said that's an issue because Muslims are given a system of law instituted by Allah called Sharia, which contains not only temporary or preliminary law, but it contains a moral absolute law too. And so when the Sharia courts are given a case where something moral or immoral has occurred, how does that judge know, or how can they judge someone's innocence or culpability based upon the measure that they were given? Because remember, the measure is you don't judge by their law breaking, you judge by what they intended to do.
Exactly.
Man cannot see man's intentions 100% of the time, only Allah can. And we gave it to him. We said, okay, fine, in that system, in the afterlife, that can work with Allah, because Allah is the only judge, yada, yada, yada. But we said, on earth, will you acknowledge that the system you've been given is a fundamentally flawed system? He failed to reconcile with that. He said yes once or twice, but he wasn't fully on board. And so we've established that there's a problem with Allah giving a law system to the Muslims because the measure is subpar. Now the question is, why has Allah given a subpar system to Muslims to judge other Muslims or non-Muslims by? It creates injustice. He tried to say, oh, that's man's application. And I said, regardless of man's application,
What's the system looking
the
for?
measure is flawed in of itself, inherently. And that was the issue. And so what is the issue? That why did we bring that up? We brought that up because it affects how we view Allah. It affects how we view him as a lawgiver. It affects him as a perfect being. That's the issue. And of course, Muslims can say no other, right? They can only say that God is perfect. But he's given an imperfect law to judge people, which can result in unjust sentences, regardless of the limitations of humanity.
We actually said earlier about how we can understand God's nature by his laws and how he communicates to us. So if we have a law that doesn't actually give justice, where, like he said, the intention is where you commit sin, not the act. But the law that's given only covers on act. And this has come from this perfect God. How there's a disparity there now. We've got an issue because we only know God through how he communicates to us. And if the Sharia is a communication from him as to how we are now to do jurisprudence, but it doesn't cover the very thing in terms of sin, then what's going on there? He's not giving us He's given us something that cuts our hands short. Like we can't actually now do justice properly because the thing that he cares about, which is true justice, is something that's not here present at all. So yeah, long conversation, interesting, enjoyable.
He was a nice guy. It was a great conversation. All right. So yeah, obviously I work for Panther Center Apologetics and Polemics, and my brother here, I don't know what Instagram you got.
I'm just a Christian, man. Maybe by God's grace we'll have a YouTube someday. I think.
He's just a witness of God.
We're just doing our thing, man. Yeah.
All right. Bro, appreciate it.